Welcome back. So, judging by the fact that it is daytime right now and the sun is out, this means that it is the day after all 7 of these games happened last night in MLS. And, this is not a big surprise, the fact that I wasn't able to do the review last night, because anytime when I attend a Quakes game, it usually takes about an hour after the game is over for me to get back home because, I actually don't live anywhere near the stadium. And then on top of that, I had to also watch some of the highlights of some of the games that I did not watch while I was at the stadium. And then of course I have to put all the notes on the board, which, as I said before, it actually takes longer than you actually think that it takes for me to write all these notes that is on the board and prepare for this video. So hence, that's why I decided to do this video today rather than yesterday, where if I would have done the video yesterday, I would have been doing a video at 1 in the morning, and that is a huge no for me when I tried to do that. But either way, in terms of last night's 7-game action, well, we definitely saw a couple of surprises and a couple of games that, yeah, that sounds about right in terms of the resort. But we also saw a couple of games that there was some bizarre thing that happened during the game, including one of them was something that I don't think I've ever seen in an MLS match before. But then we also have this game between the Chicago Fire versus Toronto FC, where one team just pretty much put a shooting gallery against their opposition, and they still came out on the losing end. And, I shouldn't be that surprised with the Chicago Fire, the fact that, they are the team that basically did that, and that we've seen this before, where the Chicago Fire can dominate an opposition and look to be the better team against the opposition, and they somehow ends up on the losing side because they weren't clinical in terms of their finishing, and then they just allowed some boneheaded play on the other end and concede goals on the other end that you probably think that they shouldn't be doing, and they end up on the losing side. So, in the first half, just 2 minutes into the game, Soteldo would score from Endo to give Toronto a 1-0 lead as TFC wastes no time to get on the score sheet. I also believe that is the first goal that Jefferson Soteldo have scored in MLS. I might be incorrect, but I'm going to assume it's the first goal, even though I kind of didn't put it here on the board. And then, just 8 minutes later, Bono was able to deny Aliseda. This was probably the best game that Alex Bono has played in this one, and he really did stood on his head for most of the game, making some big save. And he made another big save just 7 minutes later, denying Sekulic. But the Fire was definitely getting hungry to get the equalizer. Frankowski, I thought in 30th minute, should have got the equalizer as he had a point-blank effort that just hit straight to Alex Bono. Baric then blazed wide from 16 yards out in the 32nd minute, before just 3 minutes later, he would be denied by Bono. In fact, Bono made an incredible save here to rob Baric from point-blank range. And then Jimenez tried to tee one up from long range about 24 yards out, but that one goes wide. And despite the fact that the Fire were already putting that shooting gallery against that TFC defense, it is 1-0 in favor of TFC heading into halftime. Now, in the second half, there wasn't as much chances as we saw in the first half, where the Chicago Fire was just pretty much putting immense pressure under TFC, which, I even said that this really favored TFC because with how much pressure they were under throughout that first half, it's kind of refreshing, the fact that they weren't under that same pressure in the first 20 minutes. But then in the 66th minute, Frankowski had a big chance to equalize for the Fire, but he hits it wide from close range before Bono denied Frankowski from long-range effort. And this is also kind of the time where I thought, yeah, this is just going to be one of those games for the Fire where they're not going to get a goal in that one, no matter what they try. And to make things worse, just 2 minutes after that miss from Frankowski, De Leon would score from Mullins and Soteldo to give TFC a 2-0 lead. What a lovely team goal that was from TFC. Lovely 1-2 kind of combination play during that goal. And, I thought that was a goal that really kind of deflated the Fire, and looks like the game was over. But just 1 minute later, and really on the next sequence of play, Madron was able to finally give the Chicago Fire a goal that they've been searching for a very long time, and it also kind of sets up a grandstand finish in the last 13 minutes. 04 had a big chance in the 81st minute and probably should have scored here, as he literally had a free header from 6 yards out. I mean, it was a beautiful delivery ball from the free kick into the box, and I think there was also a couple of Fire player that was open in the box to head that one in, and Chinoso Ofer was one of those and he has to score from that. Like, when you get a free header like that from 6 yards out, at the bare minimum, you need to at least hit the target, and the fact that he did not hit the target kind of just summarized the finishing that the Fire has had throughout this game. And despite the fact that the Fire continue to pile on the pressure as the clock ticks down, Toronto was able to escape with all 3 points in this game. And the shots in this one, and no, this is actually the stats, 31 shots compared to 8 that TFC had, 14 shots on goal compared to 3 that TFC had, 14 shots off target compared to 3 that TFC had, 3 shots that was blocked compared to 2 that TFC had, and possession-wise, 57% possession compared to 43% possession, and that the Fire, you know, they had 28 of their 31 shot that was actually going on frame of Alex Bono, but, you know, a combination of Bono just kind of stood on his heads in this game, and also just some of the worst finishing I've seen an MLS team has in this game was the reason why the Chicago Fire wasn't able to get all 3 points. And also the fact that I might as well just throw in the cliche about, you know, when you're the team and you don't put your chances away and the opposition are able to do so, then this, of course, does happen. So, yeah, it's another frustrating loss that the Chicago Fire has, and you can really see that they definitely have cooled off after they had a great month of June just last month. But for TFC, their resurgence is started to continue. I mean, they have now gone unbeaten in their last 4 games, and they have not lost a game ever since Chris Armas was dismissed from TFC. And let's see if they can continue that run, even though in this game you could say that they kind of might have stole for all 3 points from the Chicago Fire in this one. But moving on, in terms of the next match, is Minnesota and Portland. Now, this game was actually very similar to the one between the Chicago Fire versus TFC, and I gotta be honest, I thought the Loons was gonna fall in the same trap that the Chicago Fire has, because for the majority of this game, the Loons were by far the better team, and this was also a game where it featured the opposition scoring early in this game. But before that, 1 minute into this game, Reynoso tried to give the Loons an early lead, but he hits it wide from 14 yards out. But then 10 minutes in, Felipe Mora scored from Asprilla to give the Timbers a 1-0 lead, and in some way that was not only against the run of play, but that was pretty poor defending from the Loons. And poor defending is something I haven't said a lot about the Loons in these last couple of games, because I thought ever since they had this incredible turnaround after they start 0-4 this season, the defense have definitely been much better. But this instant was something reminiscent to what I saw when they were in that 0-4 run, where, you know, just no closing down when the ball was coming in, or actually there was not enough closing down to allow Asprilla to kind of just spray a ball into the box, and then Metanir basically was not close enough to his man, that was Felipe Mora, and Mora just ended up having kind of a free header to be able to put it into the back of net. And the Timbers were up 1-0 on the road in this game. Now, just 3 minutes later, Coleman tried to equalize quickly for Minnesota, but that one hits it high from close range. But I also thought the attack looked slow from the Loons. Like, it looked really slow, and it looks very predictable. And I just feel like if this is going to be how the Loons are going to look for the rest of the game, they're not scoring a single goal. Like, there's no way in the world they can look this slow and this uninspiring on the attack and expect to break down this Timbers low block. And that, you know, it just feels like the Timbers were going with their bread and butter in this game, where they're just going to sit in the low block and trying to go on the counter to see if they can get a goal. And they already proved that they can do that in the 10th minute, where that was also a goal that kind of came from a transitional play. Now, in the 24th minute, Ivicic would rob Robin Lod, who had a point-blank effort, as the Loons would press to try to get the equalizer. Lod then dragged it wide from close range in the 29th minute, before doing the same thing just 8 minutes later. I think this time also on the same side, that he drags a shot wide from close range in the 29th minute. And despite the fact that the Timbers were under immense pressure, they kind of eventually rode out the storm and kind of started to have some possession near the end of the first half. But we had to halftime, despite the fact that Minnesota were by far the better team. The Timbers were up 1-0 heading into the halftime whistle. So we go to the second half, and in the second half, it was actually the Timbers that got off to a good start. Valeri did try to curl one from a free kick, but that one was tipped over by Miller in the 49th minute. I mean, we've seen that before, where even in an impossible angle, you're going to see Diego Valeri try to curl that one and try to test the goalkeeper, and that time Tyler Miller was there to answer that test. Then 1 minute later, Mabiola hits it high on the volley in the 50th minute, and as I said, the Timbers, they were starting out as the better team, and that was definitely not the start that I was hoping the Loons has had. I was hoping they can continue to put that immense pressure under the Timbers, and the fact that we almost went down 2-0 in the first 5 minutes was definitely very concerning. But thankfully, they eventually does get that pressure back toward the Timbers, as Lud once again tried to score and get the equalizer for Minnesota in the 54th minute, but he drags a shot wide from 17 yards out. Then Dotson puts it high from 16 yards out in the 62nd minute, and I just couldn't help myself and just put, is this just one of these days for the Loons where, I've seen this before, where it doesn't matter how much they try to go for on the attack, they just doesn't have the finishing ability to be able to get the equalizer. In the 68th minute, Trapp did put one high from 18 yards out before Reynoso puts a half-hearted shot from outside the box high in the 69th minute. But then in the 74th minute, finally, the Loons got the equalizer. And it's Chase Gasper that scored from Hassani Dotson to give Minnesota the tying goal during that play. And I'll tell you what, if there is the last two guys that I think would have got the equalizer for Minnesota, I would say it's going to be either Chase Gasper, or even if there is the last pairing that is going to end up on the scoring sheet and on the assist chart, those are the two guys. Like, I did not expect Chase Gasper to be the one to kind of play hero to get the equalizer, and especially did not expect that Hassani Dotson would be the one that is at the end of a cross there and gets the assist out of that. Like, I think that's the first ever assist that Hassani Dotson has got. Well, actually, no, this is not his first ever assist, but really, I think this is an assist that I think he got in this game that, it's been a while since I remember the last time that Hassani Dotson ends up on the assist chart. But that, of course, ties the game at 1 apiece. Obviously, Allianz Field, which was definitely in a frenzy even before the Loons get the equalizer. They definitely erupted when that goal was tied up. Then 3 minutes later, Ivasic then denied Lud from close range before he did the same thing this time to Finley in the 80th minute. But I just have a feeling that the Loons can smell blood for the winner. And you can also see that, for the Timbers, this is their third game in 7 days, and you can definitely see that there was definitely fatigue that was go on for this Timber side, and rightfully so, with the way that they've been under immense pressure for majority of the game. Eventually they're going to get tired out, and I think many people could expect that goal was going to come for Minnesota, and it did. In the 85th minute, it's Robin Lud that scored from Reynoso to make it 2-1 in favor of Minnesota. So second week in a row where Lud was able to get the game winner for Minnesota. And I also thought that this was a goal and also an assist that both of these guys deserved, because for Lud, I talked about how much he was on the board, and talked about he drags a shot wide. Well, he had like 6 or 7 chances to get his first goal, and it just felt like it wasn't going to be for him, and it's just one of these days where he could not able to put a shot on target, but he finally did in a crucial moment. And also Reynoso, who I thought in this game he still isn't really kind of the Reynoso that I saw from last year, but this pass that Reynoso put was exactly the Reynoso that I remember from last year. I mean, that was just a world class of a pass that just cut through the entire Timbers defense, sent Robin Lud going through on goal, and he would able to put that one away to give the Loons a 2-1 lead. But then just 2 minutes later, the Timbers look like they want to have the last say in this game, as Blanco actually had a good opportunity from close range, but Miller was able to deny him in that spot. And despite the fact that the Timbers were trying to mount a comeback in this game, Minnesota was able to hold on to win 2-1 in this one. And the shots in this one, 28 shots compared to 8 that the Timbers had. 6 shots on goal compared to 3 that the Timbers had. 15 shots off target compared to 3 that the Timbers had. 7 shots that was blocked compared to 2 that the Timbers had. And possession-wise, 56% possession compared to 44% possession that the Portland Timbers had in this game. And, overall, I'm happy that Minnesota did walk away with all 3 points in this game, but there's no doubt that if they did not get those goals that they had late in the second half, I think the storyline will once again be why in the world this team cannot finish. And I think in some way you could also say the same thing with the way that, yes, they had 28 shots in this game, but only 6 of them was on target. And there was actually at one point of this game where they had, I think, like 19 shots on goal, and only 1 of them is actually on goal. This is the problem that this team is suffering from this season, and that, it's unsurprising the Loons have the worst kind of shots on goal and shots ratio in the entire league, because this team just not only are not good in terms of the finishing, but they just pretty much it doesn't matter where they shoot, they always find a way to put that one off target, and I think that is something that they need to figure it out. I mean, I know I shouldn't be complaining about them with the way that they've been in an incredible run ever since that 0-4 start, but it does still concern me, the fact that I've seen these kind of performances where they just could not finish, and that, come playoff time they have to do better in terms of that, because come playoff time you're not going to see as much chances as we have seen the Loons have had, and expect the fact that they're going to continue to get those chances to potentially score a goal in a game. But moving on, in terms of the next match, and also just a quick word on the Timbers, I think there's really no shame of them losing this game, because you knew this was always going to be a loss with the way that this is the 3rd game in 7 days, and because of how banged up that they are, that they could not rotate their team. And when you are pretty much putting the same team and you play your 3rd game in 7 days, and especially play on the road, then yeah, that of course is going to happen. And it was unsurprising. By the time I think it was right around the last 20 minutes of the game, you can see this Timber side was on life support in terms of the fact that they were absolutely gassed with the way that this game kind of turns out. But moving on, in terms of the next match, is Dallas and the Galaxy. So this was no doubt the most surprising result of the Saturday night action, but in some way it was only surprising because of the fact that Ricardo Pepi decided to announce to the world that, yeah, I am going to be that next American that potentially is going to make the jump to Europe, and that his stock of potentially becoming a future U.S. men's national team player definitely rise in this game, because, not only the fact that he scored a hat-trick in this game, but he also become the youngest ever player in MLS to score a hat-trick during this game. Now, in the 10th minute, Sasha Kljestan did have an early chance for the Galaxy, but that hit straight to Jimmy Maurer. Keep in mind, this was one of the few chances that the Galaxy had so far this game, because after that, Justin Shea did try to go for a long-range effort, but that one missed wide in the 12th minute. Before, in the 27th minute, the Ricardo Pepi show began, as he scored from Ricarte to give Dallas a 1-0 lead, and not long after that, right on the stroke of halftime, he would score again, this time unassisted, to make it 2-0 in favor of FC Dallas, and that would be the scoreline heading into the second half. And then in the second half, 5 minutes in, he would complete the hat-trick, as he scored from Schoen to give Dallas a 3-0 lead. And I also wrote, he is the youngest ever player in MLS to score a hat-trick. He actually, in terms of age, actually tied with Kekuta Mane as the youngest ever player to score a hat-trick at 18 years old, but because of the fact that Ricardo Pepi is slightly younger than when Kekuta Mane scored his hat-trick a couple of years ago. Well, actually not a couple of years ago, but it was a long time that of course happened. That's why Pepi does have the record as the youngest ever player to score a hat-trick in MLS, and I think he beat Kekuta Mane by about 90 days in terms of being the youngest ever player to score a hat-trick in MLS. Now, in the 60th minute, Ricarte almost made it 4, but he puts that one high from long range. Before Pepi almost made it 4-0 and almost scored his 4th goal, but Jonathan Bond was able to deny him from that. And then in the 88th minute, Dallas eventually does get that 4th goal, and it's O'Brien that scored from Justin Shea to pretty much put an icing on the top for Dallas. And yeah, that of course is the final score of this game, as the shots in this one, 12 shots compared to 16 that Galaxy has, 5 shots on goal compared to 3 that the Galaxy had, 2 shots off target compared to 10 that the Galaxy had, 5 shots on block compared to 3 that the Galaxy had, and possession-wise, 51% possession compared to 49% possession that FC Dallas had. And don't let the stats fool you, the fact that you might think the Galaxy might be the better team, with them pretty much dominating most of the stats besides shots on goal. But most of those shots that the Galaxy took were not even close to being on target throughout the game, which hence that's why I didn't write it down here on the board, kind of noting some of the shots that they had that wasn't even came close toward goal. But either way, for Dallas, this is a big win for them, and hopefully maybe this is a win that they can use to try to spark up some hope for this team, because yeah, this team, even with this win, they're still near the bottom of the Western Conference. In fact, I think they're still at the bottom of the Western Conference right now, and they still need kind of like a Minnesota United kind of resurgent of a run to get themselves potentially back up the table and compete for the playoffs. But for the Galaxy, yeah, this has been a rough run for the last couple of games. And if you're a Galaxy fan, I know you're going to say that, well, they did not have Chicharito and they were missing a couple of players there. But I also kind of feel like throughout these last couple of games, I talked about earlier before, it really isn't just because Chicharito not there is the reason why the Galaxy is in a rough patch. This defense has just gone back to the form that they were a couple of years ago, where it was just absolutely hot garbage. And if that defense is not going to fix up, and also if Jonathan Bond, who in these last couple of games he came nowhere near as the goalkeeper that we saw from the beginning of the season, the Galaxy could be in trouble, and that they could really start to slowly slide down the Western Conference if they keep going through this rough patch that they've been going through in this last month or so. But moving on, in terms of the next match, and the last match on this board, is the USL derby between Nashville versus FC Cincinnati. Well, this game, for a majority of this one, there wasn't really a lot of chances between both of these teams, but at the end of the day, Nashville took the most of their opportunity and was able to win 3-0 in this one. And they got the goal scoring started in the 13th minute when CJ Sapon scored from Hani Mukhtar to give Nashville a 1-0 lead. That was actually the first shot on the game, and it actually turns out to be the first shot of the game for a while now, because after that the game kind of continued to be very tight, as we saw in the first 10 minutes of this, and neither team really created a lot of chances. But Cincinnati did have a big opportunity in the 31st minute, and probably their best opportunity in this game, as Bernier actually went through on goal, and Cincinnati actually had a 2-on-1 situation, but his cutback was just kind of intercepted by a Nashville defense. And yeah, that's one that I'm pretty sure Bernier would love to have back, because anytime you have a 2-on-1 situation, most of the time you gotta at least, at the bare minimum, test the goalkeeper or even put it into the back of net. But Cincinnati wasn't able to do so, and that big chance that they waste would come back to haunt them, because 4 minutes later, Randall Leal would score from CJ Sapon to give Nashville a 2-0 lead. And I'll tell you what, if it wasn't for Ricardo Pepi scoring a hat-trick in this game against Dallas, CJ Sapon is definitely in contention for player of the week. Like, he had an incredible performance in this one. Not only did he get on the assist chart in this game, but ends up also getting the 2 goals and was involved with all 3 goals that Nashville scored in this one. But in the 38th minute, he also tried to get back on the score sheet and try for his second goal, but his volley that he tried to hit, unfortunately, he completely got that one all wrong, and it went way, way wide. But Nashville would head to halftime with a 2-0 lead against FC Cincinnati. And as we go into the second half, Bernier then had a chance in the 47th minute from short-range effort. But that shot, of course, was blocked, although it was some nice 1-2 kind of combination that FC Cincinnati has prior to that, to Bernier have a chance to get one back for Cincinnati, but that was not meant to be. Then there was a shout for a penalty for Nashville after Sapon felt like he was brought down in the box, but nothing was given. But then 3 minutes later, he would get on the score sheet for the second time as he scored from Hani Mukhtar to give Nashville a 3-0 lead. Bernier then tried to go for a long-range effort, but goes wide in the 65th minute. Before Romney did try to make it 4-0, and he actually had a big opportunity to make it 4-0 during this opportunity, but he just puts that one wide from short range. And then in the 90th minute, Denlani also looked to try to put the cherry on top of what has been a great game for Nashville, but the Mirror was able to deny him during that play. But in the end, Nashville able to walk away not only with all 3 points, but also scoring 3 goals against FC Cincinnati in this game. And the shots in this one, as I mentioned, there wasn't really a lot of opportunity in this game. Only 15 shots combined for both teams, 8 shots compared to 7 that FC Cincinnati has, 4 shots on goal compared to no shots on goal that FC Cincinnati has in this game. 3 shots off target compared to 5 that FC Cincinnati has, 2 shots that was blocked compared to 1 that Nashville has, and despite the fact that FC Cincinnati has majority of the possession, Nashville was just really lethal whenever they have the possession, and especially on the counter attack. And overall, as I mentioned, this is a good victory for Nashville and something that they need to continue to do, knowing the fact that they don't have a home game left, and that they're going to have a really backlog of a road schedule in the second half of the season. But for FC Cincinnati, yeah, it's safe to say that they're having a Chicago Fire moment, where I talk about how after the Fire had a relatively good run, they definitely came back down to earth. And it seems like it's the same case with FC Cincinnati, because this kind of performance is a reminiscent of the wooden spoon year that they had in the past 2 years, and also in the beginning of the season where they just could not get anything going whatsoever. But that being said, I am going to switch boards and look at the last 3 games that happened yesterday as part of the Saturday night action around MLS. But yeah, moving on in terms of the next match is the Rocky Mountain Cup between RSL versus Colorado. And this was definitely one of those bizarre games that I talked about earlier in the preview, where we saw not only one of the worst goalkeeping howler in this game, but we also saw a fireworks show that was prematurely kind of shoot off in the beginning of the second half. And keep in mind, this was a game that they were going to have a fireworks show after this game, and it was kind of weird that they decided to kind of prematurely, and almost kind of like, how when you watch a movie just a couple of months before, there's usually a trailer that tells about what the movie is about. Well, that's kind of the same thing with the fireworks show in this game. It's almost like in the beginning of the second half, the people that was in charge of the fireworks show are just giving RSL fans a little bit of a teaser of what would look like in terms of the fireworks show they're going to see at the end of this game. But in the first half, 3 minutes into this game, we already had a bit of a scuffle between Krylak and Abubakar, and this one actually kind of went on for about 16 minutes, because, I don't know what exactly both of these guys says. I mean, I'm pretty sure they definitely had some choice words with each other, and it wasn't just asking how our each of our day has been going. But yeah, this was kind of something that continued to develop through the first 16 minutes. And I kind of like the fact that both of these guys kind of remind us that this is actually a rivalry game. Like, I know the Rocky Mountain Cup, a lot of people would think that that's kind of like an afterthought of a rivalry, but at least we still did see this incident, and at least Damir Krylak and Lalas Abubakar kind of reminds us the fact that the Rocky Mountain Cup could also be very intensive at times. Now, in the 13th minute, this is when we saw one of the worst goalkeeping howler I've seen in MLS, and in some way, I'm going to say this is kind of like a Sean Johnson moment. So, if you remember back in 2019, in that Allianz Field opener between Minnesota versus NYCFC, and that Sean Johnson basically had a back pass toward him, and he just inexplicably let that back pass and let that ball went through his leg and go into the back of the net. Well, it happened again in this incident, where it was just a simple back pass toward William Yarbrough, and it's always unexplained whenever this has happened, where I don't know how a goalkeeper doesn't realize the ball was coming toward him, and that it always feels like it's kind of harder for a goalkeeper to miss a back pass or even come through his legs than actually just basically miss kicks it. And in this instant, went through his leg. Yarbrough did try to save it all off the line, but it was too late, and RSL absolutely gifted a lead in this game, where for the first 13 minutes there wasn't really much that happened in this Rocky Mountain Cup. But that goal definitely is something that gives people some talking point, but obviously not for the right reason if you're the Colorado Rapids, and especially William Yarbrough, where that is going to be a moment that unfortunately he's going to have to live through in Rocky Mountain Cup kind of tale. But in the 15th minute, Ochoa did deny Bassett as the flag actually went up, so even if that one went in, it wouldn't have counted. Then Michael Chan's blaze it high from close range in the 20th minute. It's actually not Chang, it's Michael Chang. I'm getting some of these pronunciation wrong today for some reason, but he blazed that one high from close range. RSL had all the momentum and were looking for the second, but just as I finished writing that note, Ochoa almost committed a goalkeeping howler of his own, as his poor first touch almost gave it straight to Cole Bassett. And I also thought that both goalkeepers were very shaky in the beginning of the game. And after when Krylak did puts it wide on the header in the 23rd minute, Ochoa almost made another mistake where he spilled a cross that was coming in from Barrios, and there was actually multiple Rapids players that could have easily hit that one into the empty net. But ultimately, it was Mosqueda, the one that tried to do so, but he hits it high from the empty net. And yeah, as I mentioned, both goalkeepers, they were definitely feeling the nerves in this game. And I'm not quite sure, is it because of the fact that this is the Rocky Mountain Cup and it means a lot for both of these teams, but both of these goalkeepers were definitely not having a game that they want to remember early in this one, with one goalkeeper committing a goalkeeping howler and the other goalkeeper twice that almost commit the same culprit. But in the 30th minute, RSL would double their lead, and it's Bobby Wood who opens his MLS account as he scored from Rusnak to give RSL a 2-0 lead. As I mentioned, that is his first career MLS goal, and it's great to see that Bobby Wood gets on the score sheet, because he's been having a difficult time in these last couple of years, ever since his high point of being the main number 9 of the U.S. men's national team. But hopefully this is a beginning for him to rediscover that goal scoring form that he used to have when he was playing in Europe. And also that would be the final chance of this game, as the last 15 minutes, not much really happened in this Rocky Mountain Cup, and RSL take a 2-0 lead in favor of Colorado. Now in the second half, this is where I talk about the firework kind of prematurely shoot off outside Rio Tinto Stadium. I mean, you can even hear it from the broadcast, and I think the commentator even talk about the fireworks kind of coming, or the fireworks shooting off outside the stadium. It's almost kind of like prematurely, the fact that they're just previewing the fireworks show and what turns out to be kind of a firework kind of night for RSL in this game. But again, in the second half, just like for part of the first half, not much really happened in the first 10 minutes of the second half. Bassett then missed high as he tried to put it on frame on a 22-yard free kick before Ashton Morgan actually cleared a trusty header off the line. And Ashton Morgan, I don't know if he knew a lot about this one, but he was just kind of in the right place at the right time, just clear that one off the line to preserve the 2-0 lead that RSL had. But you can definitely see Colorado was hungry to try to get one back, but ultimately RSL pretty much put the game over in this Rocky Mountain Cup, as Rubio Rubin, who hasn't scored for a while now, but he also have just recently got a contract extension a couple of days ago. Well, he basically rewarded the RSL front office of why they decided to sign him to a multi-year contract extension, as he scored from Krylak to make it 3-0 in favor of RSL. They mentioned that this is actually the first goal that the Rapids have conceded in the last 15 minutes, and they were actually the last team in MLS to not concede a goal in the last 15 minutes. And I think that's even though that's kind of a weird little stats there, that's kind of a good stats for the Rapids to have, because when you don't concede goal in the last 15 minutes, you're a team that don't usually blow leads late in the game. And I wouldn't say that they really blow leads in this game, because they never had a lead in this game, and they also didn't score in this game either way, as RSL was shut out Colorado in this Rocky Mountain Cup 3-0. And the shots in this game, as I mentioned, not much happened throughout this game. Only 14 shots combined in this game, 5 shots to 9 that the Rapids had. Both teams had 2 shots on goal, 2 shots off target for the 6 that the Rapids had. Both teams had 1 shot that was blocked, and possession-wise, 41% possession compared to 59% possession that the Rapids had in this game. And really, for the Rapids, this was definitely one of the worst performances that they have put in this season. Probably right up there with that performance against SKC a couple of weeks ago, where just nothing really kind of worked out for this team that has really been in a good form in the last couple of games, and it's kind of inexplicably they kind of just lay an egg in this Rocky Mountain Cup. And I also get that, as I said in the preview, Rio Tinto Stadium seems to be a house of horror for the Rapids because they always tend to lose RSL at Rio Tinto Stadium, or even in this Rocky Mountain Cup, where recently RSL has really dominated this rivalry. But I thought this was maybe a change of guards, and that maybe Colorado would be the one that might be the one to get all 3 points against a much weaker RSL team in the past. But it just seems like that was not the case in this game, and RSL continued their supremacy in terms of the Rocky Mountain Cup that they have for the past couple of meetings. But now moving on, in terms of the next match, is another bizarre game between the San Jose Earthquakes and the Houston Dynamo, and this is also the game where I talked about earlier, where there was something that happened in this game that I don't think I've ever seen in an MLS game, and it was a very freak kind of incident that happened during this game. But first of all, 3 minutes in, there was a shout for a penalty after Wando hit the net from the penalty spot, but nothing was given during that play. Before Chofis did try to shoot from close range, but he puts it wide in the 5th minute. And then this is when the incident happened, where I don't think I've ever seen this incident happen ever in MLS, where you always see when center ref, they always try their best to try to not get in the way of the action, and that you do see sometimes maybe the center ref might have actually got in the action by maybe the ball kind of played toward him and he could not kind of avoid it, and it basically hit his feet. And that's why there's now the rule where if the ball does hit a center ref, then they're basically going to have to stop play, unless if it's a play that doesn't affect an attacking play. But I don't think there's a rule of what happened when a player accidentally collide with a center ref, and that's exactly what happened in this instant, where Nathan and the center ref was basically going full sprint, and they basically just end up in the wrong place at the wrong time, just kind of collide with each other. Obviously, Nathan was able to stay for the rest of the game, but unfortunately the center ref wasn't able to stay for the rest of the game. He had to pretty much be substituted with another referee, who actually turns out to be the fourth official, and I believe the fourth official has actually never been a center ref at an MLS game, which that does means that it's gonna create some interesting kind of refereeing decision for the rest of the game. Although I would say that for a majority of the game, I thought the center ref did a very good job. And I'm talking about the replacement center ref after the main center ref unfortunately got injured on this freak kind of accident. I mean, I know Quakes fans will kind of disagree with me, especially what happened late in the game, where I think maybe that's kind of the one point where maybe the referee kind of let things kind of gone out their hand and kind of lost a little bit control of the game. But if it takes that long to kind of lose control of the game, I mean, I know I shouldn't be applaud with referee taking that long to lose control of the game, but for a guy that has never been a center ref before, that's kind of a good job for him to kind of take control of this game and just really kind of call the game consistently. Even though I know in the latter part of the game, that's kind of really some of the main talking point that was the case in this one. Besides that kind of freak collision where Nathan and the center ref just kind of collide with each other in the middle of the pitch. But besides that, the first 15 minutes, the game was kind of even between the Quakes and the Dynamo. The Quakes, I thought, came closest to score in the first 15 minutes, but the Dynamo would quickly respond in the 18th minute, as they also came close there after Memo Rodriguez went through on goal, but JT Marcinkowski made a decent save on that. And I thought after a good start that the Quakes had on the attacking end, they started to look stale after that, and really this is just kind of the story for the Quakes this season, where it just feels like not only nobody can score on this team, but there's just no creativity whatsoever in this team, and there's just so many of these kind of backwards, sideways passing. it's really tough to watch. And the fact that this is kind of a thing that we're start to see under Almeida, that's also so a telling tale that yeah, maybe Almeida time with the Quakes is not actually that long anymore, because this is kind of something we saw under Dominic Kintner, and especially under Michael Starhay, and the fact that we're going back to this kind of stale attacking kind of attack that I've seen the Quakes have done in previous year tells me that I feel like maybe we definitely need a change of guards in terms of the coaching position. But in the 27th minute, Wando almost kind of scored a Wando-esque goal where he basically decided to kind of came out of nowhere in the back post and hits that one in, but unfortunately that one goes wide. Mark Sinkowski then denied Urruti on the right in the 35th minute. I thought the Dynamo at times when they counterattacked this Quakes defense, they were doing a relatively good job, but that also is due to the fact that this is also one of the biggest struggle that the Quakes defense have to deal with, which is most of the time whenever a team try to counterattack them, they usually have a tough time in terms of dealing with it. But in the 40th minute, we finally had a breakthrough, and it's actually the Dynamo that gets the breakthrough in the 40th minute as Matthias Vera that scores to give the Dynamo a 1-0 lead in favor of the Quakes. I mean, I thought it was a great goal that Vera scored, and I'm not going to say that's a goal of the week contention, because we know who is going to win the goal of the week with Raul Ruiz scoring that incredible goal against Austin FC. But nevertheless, it was a great goal, but I also thought it was poor closing down from the Quakes. Like, I thought they did a good job originally trying to hit that one away from when the corner was coming in, but when that one was headed away and it gets recycled back to a Dynamo player, you have to make sure you close down that player, because you know what that player is going to do. He's going to try to take a pot shot from outside the box and trying to put it on frame, and that time Vera did exactly that, and again, the Quakes did not do a good enough job in terms of closing down that, and the Dynamo would capitalize on that mistake and lead 1-0 in this game. But that lead wouldn't last very long, because just before the halftime whistle was blown, the Quakes would get the equalizer, and they actually didn't score on this goal. It was actually an own goal from Valentine. Although, I've said many times before, when you decide to put the ball in a dangerous area, good thing always happen when you do that, because, not only the fact that potentially one of your attacker could just tap it into the back of the net, but also that creates havoc in terms of the defense, where, when those dangerous ball coming into the box, you got to make sure you had the right technique to clear that one away, because if you don't have the right technique, as we saw here with Zarek Valentin and also another Dynamo defender that was in the vicinity to try to clear that one away, that of course could happen. And yeah, the Quakes of course got the equalizer on that, and we head to halftime 1-1 between both of these teams. And the second half, again, not much happening in the first 15 minutes. Really the only chance in the first 15 minutes, and really for the first 30 minutes of the second half, was because it had a weak effort that goes straight to Marko Maric, and neither team was doing well in the final third. And I kind of also felt like as the second half goes, this is going to end 1-1, and this is not going to satisfy anybody if this game ends 1-1, because both of these teams have been on a long winless run, and a 1-1 draw only increased their winless run for both of these teams. But in the 76th minute, when Andy Rios was summoned for Wando, that's when I realized that, yeah, the Quakes are settled for a draw. Like, there's just no way in the world. If you bring Rios into this team off the bench, yeah, most likely the Quakes have pretty much waved the white flag. But Annalise did have a 20-yard free kick that was one hop to Maric in the 82nd minute, before Rios trying to shut up all his hater, including myself, when he had a close range effort, but unfortunately he puts that one high. Like, if he actually puts that one in, then yeah, he definitely silenced a lot of the doubters. But this is why a lot of doubters, including myself, always complain about Rios being in this team, because that's kind of the thing that he does. And I'll talk about later, or actually the very next play, he was also involved in a situation that actually denied a Quakes the winner, as actually it wasn't Paul Marie, but actually Carlos Fierro looked like he scored the winning goal for the Quakes, and certainly PayPal Park erupted when that goal was scored. But unfortunately, the goal was disallowed for offside, and the reason why it is the case is because Rios basically interfered that play, and in some way he didn't need to interfere that play, or at the very best, he needs to at least know that he cannot get caught offside during that incident, and yeah, because of that, the goal was disallowed for offside. The ref you suck chant definitely ring out around PayPal Park, but I knew that when I saw on the replay of that, yeah, that of course is going to be offside. Although I did later on see another replay of this potential offside call, and I'll tell you what, it was actually closer than I originally saw it at the stadium, and in some way you could maybe argue that they probably should have gone to VAR to that. I mean, if they did go to VAR, I still don't think they had definitive evidence, especially the angle that I saw the replay when I watched it later after when I came home. It was relatively close. Like, it was just too close for me to say that they can overturn that call. But yeah, certainly the fans were not happy about that. And then late in the game, this is when it kind of really turned into a war zone where there was pushing and shoving between both teams. And this is also when I said the referee kind of lost a little bit control of this game. And then Fierro basically got himself sent off in the heat of the moment because he decided to kick out an opponent. I mean, we've seen this before where the Quakes in these last two games, there's been some boneheaded play that the Quakes has made and got themselves sent off, and in this one, it's inexcusable for Fierro to, I understand he's frustrated, and I'm pretty sure everybody on the pitch was frustrated there, but you simply cannot just kicked out like that, because when you decide to do that, that is always going to be an automatic red card. But either way, it ends in a 1-1 draw between both of these teams, and the shots in this one, 12 shots compared to 10 that Houston has, 2 shots on goal compared to 5 that Houston has, 5 shots off target compared to 4 that Houston has, 5 shots that was blocked compared to 1 that the Dynamo has, and possession-wise, 65% possession compared to 35% possession that the Houston Dynamo has in this game. And again, overall, this draw does not help anybody, and it only extends both of these teams winless run, where for the Dynamo, it's now 8 games without a win, and for the Quakes, it's now 13 games without a win, and that the last win that they had was still all the way back in May. But now moving on into the last game on this board is LAFC versus Vancouver, and again, for Vancouver, I thought they had probably the biggest surprise of the night, because they were 2-0 up in this game, and I thought they were going to pull off a big upset against LAFC, just like what they did a couple of matches ago when they were up 2-0 against Seattle, and I thought they were going to be the team that will be the first team to knock off Seattle and their unbeaten run, but unfortunately that was not meant to be, although they had a couple of chances to do so, and especially the fact that when you look at this game, I thought they played relatively well in this game, and were really at times going toe-to-toe with LAFC. And especially in the first 5 minutes, I thought they kind of started well, even though they didn't really create a lot of chances. But then in the 6th minute, Hassel had to deny Atuesta, but that shot actually took a wicked deflection, which I think Hassel kind of read that one late, and because he kind of made an off-balance save, it does allow a huge rebound where Raheem Edwards had a chance to pounce on it, but he couldn't capitalize on that and puts that one wide. Before Cifuentes in the 12th minute goes for a long-range effort, but goes straight to Thomas Hassel. Then Romero had to kind of prevent a freak own goal that Atuesta was bound to score, and the reason why I say this is a freak own goal was because I think it was Farfan, the one that was trying to clear the ball away, and this just feels like it's one of those instant when you clear the ball away, you accidentally cleared it off of your teammate, and that's what happened in this, where he cleared it off of Atuesta, and Romero kind of had off balance. They had to try to prevent that, and just did enough to prevent what could have been a freak own goal that LAFC of course scored. But either way, just 9 minutes later, LAFC would concede as Vancouver would get on the score sheet. It's Caicedo that scores to give the Whitecaps a 1-0 lead, and this was a rare mistake for their newly signed Kim Boon Kwan, who I thought he's been doing very well ever since he has joined LAFC. But yeah, this was a mistake on his part, because when the ball was coming in, he wasn't able able to. I mean, he did get something to it, but he wasn't able to get enough to kind of put that one behind for a corner, and it basically present that ball right to Caicedo, who basically just easily tapped it in to give the Whitecaps a 1-0 lead. I also thought that the LAFC passing in the final third was pretty much non-existent. Like, you know, I will say that I'll give credit to the Whitecaps where they did a really good job, at least for the first 30 minutes, shutting down this high-power LAFC attack. But at the same time, this LAFC attack, you know, the passing was just so poor from them. So many balls that they tried to play and tried to create opportunity are intercepted by a Whitecaps player, and it just was simply not good enough, especially with how much talent that LAFC had on the attacking end. And then in the 38th minute, things got worse for LAFC, because it would be Dahomey that scored from Gutierrez to make it 2-0 in favor of Vancouver, and this was a very Whitecaps-esque kind of goal where it came from a set piece. We know how they are one of the most dangerous team in terms of that situation, and Gutierrez just put a perfect ball into Dahomey, who hits that one in to give the Whitecaps a 2-0 lead at Bank of California Stadium. And besides the fact that the 3-2-5-2 was still chanting, I'm pretty sure everybody inside Bank of California Stadium is stunned. The fact that they're losing 2-0 to one of the worst team in the Western Conference. But thankfully, they did have something to cheer about just 2 minutes later, as Carlos Vela would score from Atuesta to give LAFC a goal back and get themselves back into the game. Now, originally, the goal was disallowed for offside, but they did go to VAR, and they found that there was no offside there, and therefore the decision was overruled, and LAFC was able to get on the board. And as the half ended, I thought the momentum was with LAFC, but we did head to halftime with Vancouver leading 2-1 against LAFC. Now, heading into the second half, Hassel was able to deny Atuesta in the 47th minute before there was a shout for a penalty from LAFC after Rossi puts a shot that he thought it hit one of the Whitecaps player in the hand, but nothing was given in terms of the penalty. And really, as the second half kind of continued, LAFC, they would desperately try to push for the equalizer, and eventually they would get it. It's Cifuentes that scored from Palacio and Janela in the 75th minute to tie the game up at 2 apiece, and that kind of goal was kind of an LAFC kind of goal that I expect. Just some lovely kind of team play and lovely kind of combination of play that ends up leading to a goal. And yeah, that of course ties the game up at 2 apiece. Before 6 minutes later, Cifuentes not only were looking for his second, but also were trying to get the go-ahead goal for LAFC, but he missed wide on his shot. Before just 2 minutes later, it looked like Vancouver was able to retake the lead as Dahomey actually put the ball into the back of the net, but thankfully for LAFC and certainly the 20,000 inside Bank of California Stadium, they were saved by the flag as the flag was up for offside. And this was kind of very similar to the offside goal that we saw with the Quakes late in the game, where, you know, when a ball is coming in, you don't really need to touch the ball, but if you're in a direct play of the if you're in a direct play of the ball and that you're in an offside position, then yeah, you of course are going to be offsided in an instant when Dahomey strikes that one. I think it was Bikel, the one that was in the direction of the shot, and it kind of obstruct the goalkeeper view a little bit. I mean, if this was in hockey, that pretty much is goalkeeping interference. But in soccer, you know, even though there's no such thing as that, when you decide to do that, then and you of course are in an offside position, then yeah, you're basically going to be called offside for that, and therefore the Whitecaps were denied of a chance to get the lead back in this game. But in the end, they still were able to get a draw out of this game as it ends 2-2 between both of these teams. And the shots in this game, 10 shots compared to 5 that the Whitecaps had. 5 shots on goal compared to 3 that the Whitecaps had. Both teams had 1 shot off target. 4 shots that was blocked compared to 1 that Vancouver has. And possession-wise, 55% possession compared to 45% possession that Vancouver has in this game. And overall, I don't think both teams will be happy about this result. I mean, I guess maybe for the Whitecaps, they got a point, which is something that they kind of didn't expect coming into this game. But again, they blew a 2-0 lead in this game and had a big opportunity to get all 3 points. And for LAFC, they're probably not happy about this result either, because they did not play well at all in this one. And these are kind of the games where for majority of the year they've been able to get all 3 points against against these team that is near the bottom of the table, and the fact that they drop a points here, it does put a little bit more pressure for them to now, if they do face against a good opponent and they expect it to maybe be a team that is going to finish near the top half of the table, they have to make sure that they beat them, because if they don't, then they might get into a playoff position, but it's going to be similar to last year where they're probably going to be like the 7 or 6 seed, and they're going to have to play it on the road pretty much throughout the rest of the playoffs. But yeah, there you have it. That is pretty much it for the review of all 7 of these games. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think of all 7 of these games? Tonight, we of course will have more MLS action. We of course will have 5 more games that is going to happen, and we're also going to have that Gold Cup game between Jamaica versus USA that is going to be kicking off at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. Now, unfortunately, I do have to go to work in about an hour and a half at the time of this recording, so most likely I am going to miss pretty much all the MLS action and also part of that Gold Cup game between the U.S. versus Jamaica, because I don't think I'm going to get off work until 8:30. But I'm still going to try my best to, of course, watch the highlights of all 5 of these games, and also watch the highlights between the U.S. and Jamaica, and do a Gold Cup review later tonight. But until then, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I, of course, will see you guys next time.